Hello, got a new project today. I've been really interested in doing some woven wood where you take two pieces of wood and you kind of cut them and weave them all together. It looks very fascinating, very excited about the idea of maybe doing an inlay with it, make some box with some woven wood on the side, stuff like that. Should be very fun. The problem is, I don't want to start with some really expensive wood that I've milled down and went through the joiner and the planer and all that, put all this together. And then the first time I try and do it, I screw it up, which is pretty normal for me. So what I decided to do is I went down to the big box store and I bought two pieces of red oak, because they always have red oak and it's all milled down. So what I'm going to do is actually weave these two pieces of red oak together. I fully understand that you're supposed to have different colors, but I'm hoping that by using, I've got a kind of a straight grain and a kind of a crown grain here. So I think the effect will be good because it's a different grain pattern, even though it's the same wood. Then at the end, what we'll do is I'm going to turn the remains into just a little drink tray. Anyway, should be a lot of fun. I hope you come and join me. I do it. So I got these two pieces of red oak from the big box store. I got them from two different pieces of wood, so the grain is a little different. And I'm hoping that when I weave them together, they will actually look good. What I'm going to do, I have this white wood I bought at the big box store. It's cheap more than anything else. I've got the featherboard set up as a stop, and I just kind of work my way up to the right width. And so now I can just move the fence up against the featherboard, turn that on, cut it, and I got a little 1/16 inch strip. So I created a simple pattern. It's basically a bunch of sine waves all crossing each other. I think it'll be really pretty to put the pattern on the wood. What I did is I got some carbon paper, which turns out still exists, and I'm going to put the carbon paper down. I'm going to lay the pattern obviously on this, take a little bit of tape it down so it holds still, and then just trace it. So let's see. Okay, let's see if we can just trace this thing. So let's start with this one. So here's what we got for this one. I'll probably draw it in a little better with pencil, but there we go. We have a pattern. Now the reason we have to draw it on both is because as we cut, pieces will be swapping tops and bottoms, actually, of how this works. And so if I only draw it on one, then when I swap them, it'll be missing on half of the other one, what I'm trying to do. So that's the reason we have to do them to each, so the pattern will always be available on the top. Basically just double stick tape on one. Make sure to line it up about as good, as perfectly as possible so that the patterns will hopefully line up as well. Alright, stuck together. Now we can cut it. Okay, here's one I just cut. You're going to pull it apart. Pop. Pop, 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 pop. So at the top here, bottom here, go ahead and pull this off. Yeah. Okay, once you get this off, for me, the first thing I have to do is go ahead and switch. Because I did this a little bit in practice, and I got myself lost. If you get yourself lost, it causes really strange issues. So you get these two separate. You put the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. And you take these strips we cut earlier. I had been soaking them in water. I did some practice, and I tried using them dry, but they really have a tendency to crack. We're getting a lot of bend in this in what we're doing here. So you really gotta they just need to be wet. I just soak them for a while. I don't know, probably about a half hour. These have been soaking all night. So beyond that, you just glue them back together. It takes a lot of clamping force to get it right, and you have to be careful. But make sure you have plenty of glue on you. I mean, part of the problem is this is a fairly rough edge, and so you want to make sure you have plenty of glue. All right, so once you do that, you lay them down, put that in, you get your best clamp. And you kind of crimp them. You'll notice we cut these strips pretty long. I cut the strips at 18 inches in all my fiddling with it. I'm probably longer than it has to be, because you see they come out a good 2 inches on each side. But when you think about it, when you start compressing them, it's having to slide down, because it starts when it's having to slide against these edges. Now, clamp it in till it's done. This is definitely one of those situations where you can't have too many clamps. And then it's just off to do the next one. Now there we go. Well, here we go. Let's see how it looks. This one looks good. This one looks good. Looky here. We have woven wood. Isn't that impressive? Okay, next thing is just a whole bunch of sanding. So I'm going to get on the sander, and there's just lots and lots of, you just got to sand all the rest of this off till it turns pretty. So here they are sanded. In general, I'm happy with them as a first effort. There are some obvious issues with them. If you look closely, you'll see we've got some gaps here. Maybe could have been filled in with sawdust or tighter clamping, I'm not really sure. Even bigger gap right there. We've got the bigger issue I have. If you'll notice, these aren't completely aligned. This one jumps down and this one jumps up. So obviously the weaving as I cut it didn't always go back into alignment with the two pieces of wood. What I'm going to do next, I'm going to finish them up. I'm just going to turn these. I'm going to sand them all up, clean them up pretty. I'm going to put a little border on them, and we're going to call them personal charcuterie trays. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut some really thin strips off of this, because all I want is very thin border, like a 1/4 inch. So this would be a 1/4 inch strip. Okay, so we got these, we've got our strips. What we're going to do is we're just going to do very simple borders. So you're going to glue them on, nothing fancy. Then we'll sand it back down and have a pretty little tray. This one. There we go. Do the next one. I got the border glued around. It's all glued up. I sanded it with 150, 220, and 320 grit. It looks really pretty. All we gotta do is finish it. I'm gonna finish it with just some tung oil. If you are going to use them as charcuterie boards, I would definitely recommend getting a food grade finish, not tung oil. Well, looky here, we have created two beautiful personal charcuterie boards. I'm very pleased. I think they turned out well. There's a couple things I will do differently next time, and I'm going to try this again shortly. A couple things I want to try. I want to do a clamping jig. I think part of the problem was clamping the two together, just using regular clamps. I didn't get an exact clamp on both, so I want to figure out a way to do a clamping jig to make sure we have exact clamping. And I'm also going to do something to make the width of the strips more consistent. I think part of my problem with alignment is some of my strips are slightly thinner than others, so I'm going to figure something like that out and try and do this again. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video. If you'd subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Click the little notification bell and you'll be told about new episodes that come up. Thanks a bunch. Hope I'll see you again.